How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Flame, and we are back with another FPL video. And today we're going to be looking at players to buy, hold, and sell for Game Week 3. Players that you must buy because they're rising in price, or they've been absolutely crazy in Game Week 2 and they seem to be on fire. Players that I think you should hold who may have blanked in this Game Week previously in Game Week 2, and I think you should stick around with them for at least one more Game Week. And players that I think you should sell that either have bad fixtures coming up or just aren't looking good overall. If you haven't done so already, make sure to leave a like on the video if you're enjoying the series. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you are new, and turn those notification bells on so that you can get the content as soon as it is readily available. Also, make sure to give us a follow over on Twitter and Twitch. It's PilotFlame226 on those platforms. Twitter is where we do our little bulletins as to see what videos are coming out for the week, as well as posting when videos go live and when we go live over on Twitch, which is where we do our Game Week preview and Game Week deadline discussions. We'll be doing one of those this week for each one. The preview will be on Friday, 7 p.m. EDT as per normal, and then the deadline stream will be over on Twitch as well, 1 hour before the deadline, which is was last week around 5 a.m. EST, so quite early. But if you have any questions, make sure to join us over for that. But without further ado, let's get into the video. So here's our buy, hold, and sell players that we chose for Game Week 2. Our buys were not great this week, and we had a bit of a mixed bag from our holds and sells. So the two players we said to go buy this week was Fernandes and Martial. A lot of people going from Ings to Martial with the extra 0.5 in the bank. Some people going to Fernandes, dropping Salah out of their team to get him for Game Week 2. And it wouldn't have paid off in both cases. Ings getting a brace, Fernandes only getting 2 points, where Salah got 3. And even if you sold Mane to bring in Fernandes, that was even worse because he got 16 points as he's on our sell list here. But I still think the United assets can pull it back and do quite well, as they still have a decent run of fixtures before they have to face Chelsea and Arsenal in Game Weeks 5 and 6. Salah was a hold this week as well. He only got 3 points, but still shooting as per normal. He's still on penalties. He's fine to keep for the coming game week as well. And I think he's a very good captaincy shout versus Arsenal, as the last time they played them, he scored 2 goals in a 3-1 one-sided fixture at home at Anfield. We also had a hold, a good choice. So he was also my team as well. And Mitrovic getting 2 goals, a brace for himself versus Leeds United, getting 3 bonus points in that as well, one of which was a penalty. Wasn't great, but we can see how Fulham kind of designed their team around him in terms of their attack, swinging the ball in, which was great delivery. He rose up over the defender and just headed it home, doing quite well for himself there. Our sells are probably the most extreme and the most, bottom of the barrel that you're going to see this week. Mane, we said to sell him. He went down in price to 11.9 million, and he ends up scoring a brace and getting some bonus points for himself as well. But this is how it's going to happen. Salah's very good at home. Mane's very good away. Overall, they're probably going to be quite good. Maybe Salah edging it out just slightly because he does take penalties, and Salah has been exceeding his XG just so much because of how good his open play goal was, and then he got 2 penalties as well. And then Dele Alli was actually a very good sell this week, not featured in the squad at all, getting a total of 0 points. So if you took him out for the likes of James Rodriguez, or you made way for him in a potential hit move where you got in Dominic Calvert-Lewin or Richarlison, or maybe you did a sideways move to Son, it definitely paid off for you this week. And I think that we can definitely look to do a little bit better in our predictions going into this week with the players that we've chosen. So the first player we have on our buy list here is none other than Dominic Calvert-Lewin, getting a hat-trick in the previous game week, a total of 17 points, picking up maximum bonus points there versus West Brom. He has a total of 25 points for the season with a hat-trick in this game week gone, and 1 goal in the previous game for a total of 4 goals, 0 assists. He's just over 20% owned at the time of recording. This is on the Monday before this video is going to be released on the Wednesday of the week. This will be so the same day as the Manchester City game, which hasn't happened yet. 12.5 average points across the 2 games. He has Crystal Palace away, who've been looking very good defensively, but I still think that Everton is just a different animal this season. And he currently sits at 7.2 million in the forward slot. And he's potentially going to be going up, 2 or 3 times this week in total. So again, price and ownership is subject to change. He's, a fantastic player in terms of his, his pace, getting in behind, his aerial prowess. We've seen that he can get involved. He gets in the box, gets the scrappy goals, can do the really good, kind of curved finish type efforts as well when he gets in behind. And I think overall his game is transforming with the midfield behind him that he knows, hey, look, these guys, James Rodriguez, Abdoulaye Doucouré, and Allen, these guys are going to be putting the balls in good areas to where I can get onto them. Even if it is a half chance, I'm going to go for it because I know that their quality is there. And I think that's going to help him out drastically. I also think that, when he has, chances, he can spoil them a bit, but with the quality of chances that he's going to be getting, I think that he's going to be putting away a lot more goals than what he did post restart, and where he kind of waddled around a little bit, kind of had a shot here and there, and it wasn't really finding his target in most cases, and didn't score for, I think it was close to 10 game weeks. But overall, I think that with the Everton midfield, the way it's transforming, he looks to be the out-and-out threat, especially on set pieces. They're looking for him. They're looking for Michael Keane. They're looking for Richarlison. Richarlison getting 3 assists as well in the game shows that it's going to be, you're going to see a lot of Richarlison to Calvert-Lewin. You're going to see a lot of James to Calvert-Lewin. So I think he's definitely going to be a great buy, and more specifically a great buy from Game Week 3 onwards. Now, the other buy we have on our list this week is Patrick Bamford. At the time of recording, he's 5.7 million with a 15.4% ownership. He's got 2 goals, 2 assists, 21 points, an average of 10.5 points across the 2 games that he's played. His game week score was 14 points in game week 2, and he has Sheffield United away next, which is a bit of a trickier fixture, but if they can score 3 goals versus Liverpool, then they should be able to score pretty much against any team. And even him having City in the following fixture, I still think that Leeds could potentially do some damage there. It is a bit of a tricky one with him, though, because his underlying stats don't necessarily show that he should be getting these goals and assists. He doesn't create any key passes, really, and his XG is not very good. He had a 0.09 versus Fulham. He had a 0.07 versus Liverpool. And I think that, these sorts of stats can be quite tricky to kind of play around. He's gone up in price twice since his original value in 5.5. But I think that with him being the way he is in Bielsa's system, where he does the pressing, he can create chances, he gets involved, he does have a bit of skill about him. It's just a matter of, can he put the the balls in the back of the net when he does get that chance. And so far, he's done that already. He's played against the champions, and he's played against Fulham, who are probably getting to the 20th most likely, or at least be in a relegation battle at some point. And that just shows pretty much the entire spectrum. Now, it'd be interesting to see how he plays versus, a team that's very defensively compact. So like a Wolves, like a Crystal Palace, someone like this, to see how well he does. But I think that with Rodrigo out of favor, he seems to be a fantastic buy. 5.7 million is going to be one of the cheaper, if not the cheapest forward you're going to get that's going to play. That could change with potentially Ryan Brewster on his way to Crystal Palace or Sheffield United. There's rumors around both of them there. But I think Bamford could be a fantastic buy. And if you're looking for a cheaper forward for the coming game weeks, I think he could definitely do the job for you. Now, the first player on our hold list is Timo Werner. He sits at 9.5 million currently at the time of recording, with just under a 38% ownership. He's got 7 points total, with just the 1 assist to his name across 2 games, and he only got 2 points in game week 2. However, he does play West Brom away, who just conceded 5 to Everton. Yes, they did have a player sent off, but Werner also technically only played really half a game versus Liverpool, in that they went down to 10 men due to Christensen's error. And I think that he does show signs of brilliance when he is on the ball. He's very pacey, can definitely get in behind. He showed that Liverpool had something to worry about, especially with the space in behind Trent Alexander-Arnold. Across the 2 games, he's had 6 shots, 5 of which have been inside the box, and Chelsea's not even at full strength. They don't have the likes of Christian Pulisic, who was the talisman for last season, Hakim Ziyech, one of their summer signings. Werner obviously is one of the summer signings himself. Havertz had to be hooked off at halftime due to Christensen's error, so he really hasn't hit the ground running yet. Thiago Silva isn't fully fit. Chilwell's still recovering from injury. They're getting a new goalkeeper as well. So there's a bunch of different things that, you know, could allow for Timo Werner to excel. He is scheduled or might go down in price this week, but I still think it's definitely a hold for me in that regard. He is on the goals imminent table based on the amount of shots provided by Fantasy Football Scout, Joe's amazing goals imminent table. So I say if you have the members area paid for and unlocked, definitely go check that out. Werner's on there, and I think he could potentially be a Golden Boot winner this season, and especially when Chelsea are in full flow with all their players, he could be one of those players to really shine in their team. And plus he plays West Brom next. He just shipped 5 goals to Everton, who, would you say Werner's a better player than Dominic Calvert-Lewin? I would think so. So I can see him definitely scoring in that game. So it's definitely a hold for me. The only other concern that I would have if you wanted to think about selling him is that, yes, Jorginho is on the pitch, but I want to see when he's not on the pitch to see who takes penalties. You know, Chelsea have gotten 2 penalties, one in the Liverpool game and one in their away fixture versus Brighton, and Jorginho's taken both of them, scored 1, missed 1, and as a striker I would think that Werner would be the one wanting to take the penalties. Havertz wasn't on the field at the time, so there wasn't that kind of decision there, even though Jorginho stepped ahead of both of them like he did in the Brighton game as well. But it's curious to see who's going to be on penalties when they have a full team, because I don't think Jorginho makes the 11 in a full squad. And with Werner and Havertz both taking penalties at the previous clubs, be interesting to see in that regard. But I definitely think it's to hang on to Timo Werner. He does have 2 very good fixtures in West Brom away in Game Week 3 and Crystal Palace at home in Game Week 4. So I would say hang on to him for the time being. The next player we have on our hold list is Bruno Fernandes. At the time of recording, he's 10.5 million in the midfield slot, just over 22% owned, which is slowly declining, and he only got 2 points in their first game versus Crystal Palace at home. Now, this is a bit of a worrying sign for United, you know, not picking up 3 points at home in their first game of the season. Again, looking a bit leggy, kind of continuing where they left off at the end of restart from the previous season. However, Fernandes did show some signs. He had 3 shots, however, they were all outside the box, 5 key passes. But with more penalties happening over this season with the new handball rule in effect and people just being, you know, generally fatigued, you know, in a sense, nobody's really had a proper preseason. Fernandes is definitely going to get penalties, and he's very good at scoring them. Like Jorginho, he missed 1 yesterday. But before that, he was 20 out of 21 penalties scored. So I think Fernandes is in that category of just, he may miss 1, but if he gets 10, you'll take that every day of the week. He's also on set pieces as well, so you have to think that he's going to score maybe a couple of those, maybe get a few assists from some corners as well, or some like indirect free kicks. Also, I think just United overall, their squad's too good, like on paper, to not bounce back. They're probably going to dip into the transfer market after seeing this result. And another thing to kind of consider is that their next fixture is Brighton away. Fernandes, post-restart, away from home. 6 out of his 8 goals that he scored in the Premier League were away from home. 2 out of his 8 assists were also away from home. So a large portion of his goal threat came away from home. And the last time he did play Brighton, he scored twice. So I think that he's, you know, one of these types of players that thrives away from home. With the crowd not being in there and that sort of stuff, you know, it doesn't really change too much. But there's something about him where away from home, he's a lot better. And when they're at home, Martial and Rashford, even though they didn't do it in this previous game week, are typically a little bit better on that front. But I think if you have Bruno Fernandes, I think you hang on to him. He is on penalties. United are going to get them at some point once they hit their stride. And I think he's going to be a main part of how United play. And he's their talisman of their team for the foreseeable future. Now, the first player we have on our sell list is Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. He currently, at the time of recording, sits at 12 million in the midfield slot, 12 points, 1 goal, 1 assist, and just over 42% owned with average of 6 points per game. And he scored 5 points in Game Week 2 versus West Ham. Now, the reason I say to sell Aubameyang, you know, he's got a goal and an assist. He's got 2 returns in 2. If you captained him, he got a return in both games. So what seems to be the problem? Well, 1 goal and 1 assist isn't bad, but again, 12 million is a bit expensive. With his fixtures coming up, game weeks 3 through 7, he starts that off with Liverpool away and ends it with Man United at home. And all of these fixtures don't seem to be quite good overall, with very high FDR ratings of 3 or higher for the most part. And he played against 2 teams that on paper are quite bad. So West Ham being one of those, Fulham being the other one. And he only had 4 shots. So he's playing very wide. He got a yellow card for making a pretty, rash kind of tackle out on the wing, a kind of a forwards tackle, as it were. And I think that you got to be doing a little bit more than that. Yes, he is playing in a new role, and his 1 goal did come from, a piece of individual brilliance. But I think that, until Arsenal maybe potentially get another creative midfielder in there, Aubameyang might have a little bit less goal threat from what I'm seeing and how they're playing. That could definitely change. He is a fantastic goal scorer, and I don't deny that he could definitely score in one of the bigger fixtures, specifically against United, who shipped 3 to Crystal Palace. But by then, United may have fixed some things, and who knows where Arsenal might be. But I think that there are better, value in the midfield for the next few fixtures. City being one of them, having Leicester at home, Leeds away in their next 2, which they should be quite comfortable in those for game week 3. You still have Salah, who he faces faces Arsenal rather. I was going to say he faces Liverpool, plays for Liverpool, and faces Arsenal, and scored 2 goals the last time they played, and then goes on to play Aston Villa away, which is on paper a pretty good fixture for them as well. So I think that Aubameyang could definitely be shipped out for either Salah or Mane, and one of the City mids as well. And with Son as well, he scored 4 goals. That's probably not going to happen, and he's probably going to only score a decent bit of goals against teams he can get in behind in. But I think Aubameyang, out of all those midfielders, is kind of lower on the pecking order based on the fixtures that he has coming up in the next few game weeks. So I think he's definitely a sell for me, and he could potentially hurt us, but I think it's definitely worth selling him if you're going for like a City mid or returning back to Mohamed Salah for game week 3. And the last player we have on our list is Alan SAINT-MAXIMIN of Newcastle. He currently sits at the time of recording at 5.5 million as a midfielder. He's only picked up 2 points, 3 in his first game while getting a clean sheet point, and then 1 in his second game versus Brighton, where he was subbed off prematurely due to injury. He currently sits at 17.5% owned, and his next game is Spurs away, who have looked a little bit better in their previous game versus Southampton. Now, he came off with injury, which is a starter, but his stats were not great at all. He's only had 1 shot across both games that he's played. Yes, he did come off for injury in the game versus Brighton, but it was outside the box, so it's not even like he's getting inside the box. He's getting fouled a lot, which is lowering his BPS, and this injury could be potentially long-standing. He has not been great in terms of injury record since he's been at Newcastle, and you would think, okay, well, even if he's getting fouled, maybe he's creating chances. Nope. In both starts, 0 key passes. So I think that SAINT-MAXIMIN could definitely be making way for some teams. He is more of a luxury transfer. If you're on a wild card, then I would suggest shipping him out for somebody else, maybe the likes of Podence from Wolves. But I think that, if you have other fires to put out, so let's say if you have Dele Alli on your team, I think he's more of a priority. If you have Havertz and you're still sticking with him, maybe there's some consideration to get rid of him. Maybe you have some forwards that could potentially be moved on as well. Maybe people are reverting Bruno Fernandes transfers or trying to get Salah back in, and SAINT-MAXIMIN kind of just has to sit there for a little while. But I think if you do have the availability and you are on a wild card, I wouldn't recommend SAINT-MAXIMIN going into Game Week 3 onwards. And that's going to do it for today's video and this week's edition of Buy, Hold, and Sell for Game Week 3. Make sure to leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you are new. It really helps support the channel and shows that you guys are enjoying the content and helps me as a content creator get better, especially with your constructive comments down below. And make sure to turn those notification bells on so that you can get the content as soon as it is readily available. Also, make sure to give us a follow over on Twitter and Twitch. It's PilotFlame226 on those platforms. Twitter, we post a weekly bulletin on Sundays to show you what videos are going to be coming out and what streams we'll be doing during the week, as well as our FPL League code in the description, as well as over in our Twitter bio is there for you to join the Flames Recruits. I see people joining every week, which is great to see, and I'm towards the bottom of it, so I got to make sure that I got to get my team back up. We increased our rank a little bit, but not enough to where I got to be #1 in my own league. I can't have everyone beat me, so bit of competitive spirit there. And also Twitch, as we mentioned, is where we do our game week discussions. We're going to be doing our preview stream for game week 3 at 7 p.m. EDT on this week Friday, as well as our deadline stream 1 hour before the game week deadline commences. So thanks for watching, and until the next one, take care.